Hey guys, it's Postbox Pat. Welcome back to a Fortnite storyline video. Finally, I can start making videos again. I've recovered from COVID. We're now making the storyline video, so let's jump in to what we have for Season 4's storyline of Fortnite, Kado Throne. Just before we go any further, I just want to say if you are new around here or haven't already subscribed, for some reason YouTube's been unsubscribing so many people, so make sure you subscribe and support smaller creators like myself and other smaller creators, because in today's age, it's always the same faces and names in the Fortnite content space, and it's almost impossible to grow. So please support smaller creators. Thank you. So obviously, we know Kado Throne's been added in. He's the brand new villain. He's come from, well, we don't really know where he's come from. I don't know how he got on the island, but he's here. The eclipse happened. We had all that sort of stuff with the build up to the eclipse, with Sloan building that up, and then Kado appeared. So why is he here? What's he doing? Who is he? And let's take a little look at that first, and we'll have a look why he's here. So Kado Thorne is here because Sloan knew he was coming. It was kind of like a plan. She knew exactly how to read the apparatus and obviously what the ancients have left behind. We did this last season with the jungle stuff. We knew that these past realities here, which we can see the other realities where Kado has been, then we knew that he was coming here. We got information from the ancients about all the apparatus stuff, and then basically Sloan lining this up perfect, which kind of leads up to the Sloan versus, I guess, Kado. And then that leads on to what's actually happening with the current story. We'll get into who Kado is in a second. The current story that's currently taking place in-game via the quests explores how Nolan Chance, the new Battle Pass skin, is going to be getting his Heist army together to bring them together and obviously complete Sloan's plan with the Heist. Now, it's been leaked that that is the objective. The objective is to capture the time machine, which is going to be happening around the 12th of October, and you already know this from the trailer. You can kind of see the Heist taking place in the cinematic trailer we received. The story with the actual talkative quest has no audio dialogue, it's only just visuals. It's very dull. I don't want to make this a rant video about how bad the storyline's been in Chapter 4, but it's been absolutely shambles. To be honest, they haven't really given us any expression or any easy way for the average player to understand and express the storyline to them so they can actually know what's going on. You can get eliminated midway through an audio log in the past, and there's been no cinematic trailers for the storyline like there used to be in Chapter 3. So what we see in the cinematic trailers is generally just gameplay and a few elements of possible storyline like the time machine. But this all could just be promotion for the season and have no relevancy at all to the Fortnite storyline. Anyway, that leads us on to the cinematic trailer which is playing, where we actually look at the time machine, because that is what Dr. Sloan wants. Now, why does she want this from Kado Thorne? I don't know. We kind of think about it as maybe she wants to go back in time and correct the order. We know that the next upcoming comics inside of Fortnite are going to be called Order Restored. It's going to be Marvel x Fortnite, and it's rumored that's what the name of the comics are going to be called. So I wonder if that's going to be relevant to Dr. Sloan becoming kind of like a good character, no longer being part of the imagined order, but restoring order in that factor. Or generally, is this going to use the time machine to kind of go back in time to a point before Chapter 1? I know a lot of people thinking Chapter 1 Island. We had all that hype with the creative maps, which completely flopped. Generally speaking, the game is in a completely different state, and the way that Chapter 1 was played and the play style and the movement and everything is just completely different to the way Fortnite is today. Now, that's saying that we could go back before Chapter 1, have a completely different style of design of the Chapter 1 island, still keeps the same core points like retail, pleasant, but also some of the older POIs like Starry Suburbs, we could see that, and we could see even older POIs around the island that didn't exist during Chapter 1 but were there before they were replaced. Now, this could be amazing for the Fortnite storyline, amazing advertising for the game, and a huge step forward, and I could see the time machine going back. Now, don't get me wrong, the time machine can go forward as well, and we haven't even looked at who this guy is yet. Kado Throne, we've still got that to talk about, and why he's using this time machine for different things like Midas's hand or the Lupus calendar. We'll jump into that in a second. Let's just keep talking about where possibly Sloan's going to use this machine for. We're not too sure, but she's going to use it to correct something. I don't think she'll correct what happened during Collision or anything like that, or any of them events that we've seen, or Fracture, but I do think she'll use it to go back maybe before the last reality was a formed kind of major big standing point to create their last reality, obviously, which they're always trying to do. Maybe she's going to go back to combat them and destroy them before they existed or before they formed to a powerful state. I don't know exactly where she's going to use that for, but that's up for you guys to debate, I guess. Let's move on to who is this geezer and what's he doing? So Kado Thorne is obviously the new boss and the new storyline main character that we currently have on the map. He's going to be the one that Sloan's after, and is he actually as powerful as he thinks, or as they say? They say darkness is bitter, but the taste of power is sweet. This is one of the loading screens we see for Kado himself. We also see his description talking about how he's a traveler and he's always hungry to find the finer things in life, which is quite crucial as well to understand, because he really wants that sort of kind of gold and possessions that have been from the past. And to be honest, I get the vibe from this guy that he's from Mega City. He looks like he is. He's got the kinetic blade on his back in the cinematic trailer, and he kind of looks like that as well, just because not only just because he looks like that, but his team of like henchmen are also similar to Wildcard and Highcard, who are from Mega City, and he even has like a hotel which is almost identical to Mega City. One of his POIs is based off the Mega City vibe and uses elements of it, and even the logo for it uses part of kind of what we saw with the Mega City storyline with the water type people. We even see that in that logo as well, with that water element for his hotel. So generally speaking, he is quite interesting on that side, who he is, Kado. But you know, I don't know exactly if the Thorne is going to be that powerful, because we know that Fortnite is around the corner, which is going to line up quite nicely to the end of the quest where we gather the time machine for Dr. Sloan around the 12th of October. We'll then know that we're probably going to get this vampire form, which we see as a boss and a possible character. We know there's been a leak for a vampire boss. We're going to see that with Thorne as his kind of his vampire form as a boss, which is probably going to be a bit more stronger than he currently is at that vault. But generally speaking, I don't think he has too many connections with other people in the Fortnite storyline. Yes, he could have a connection with the Last Reality, and he could be working with them to invite them into the island. Maybe that's something to do with the way the Eclipse was formed, and maybe that's what we'll see during Fortnitemares, the ability of the kind of like bubble or shield around the island to be open, and the Last Reality to just swoop on in eventually, with that being kind of the lead in into season 5 before chapter 5. I think there will be another season, which will be season 5 for the storyline. I can't see them ending it this season. It just doesn't make too much sense. Also, when we just generally explore his POI, we can notice pictures of the Herald, pictures of Dr. Sloan, pictures of the cubes themselves, and just lots of storyline references to past villains inside of Fortnite. Now, obviously, we know that Dr. Sloan isn't related to the Last Reality. They are two opposite factions, so I'm not too sure why he has pictures of Dr. Sloan up and also pictures of the Last Reality, such as Herald and the cube stuff. Maybe he just kind of admires their kind of evilness, and he has his own plot and his own plans, but little do we know, or little do him himself knows that basically he's kind of forming a bubble for Sloan, who was once a villain, who possibly still could be, or the Last Reality, to move somewhere or create kind of that transition into that next season where the main villains in the Fortnite storyline make a return, and maybe the heroes as well, including the Sevens. Currently, I don't think he really is kind of a main villain for a long period of time, but I might be wrong. Only Fortnitemares would give us that insight, I guess. I feel like he's just more of like a placeholder for Fortnitemares. That's what I think anyway. It's also worth mentioning that the Mega City vibe that I do get from him could link to Treyarch Nox, who had connections to the Last Reality, and there were files that were deleted during the Treyarch Nox storyline in Chapter 4 Season 2. For those that remember it, I think many of you should remember it, depending on how into you are with the storyline, because Fortnite doesn't really tell the storyline very well. But Treyarch Nox had a storyline basically in Chapter 2 where we had to identify him as kind of like the outlier and kind of like the criminal of the syndicates, and we found him contacting the Last Reality and deleting a bunch of files. So I wonder if them files themselves were connected to Kado Thorne. Now, I don't know, but it could be, and it kind of would make sense if that was a nice little transition to connect it back to the Mega City storyline. Again, the storyline which many of you probably don't even know. Maybe, I think actually, I should say the average Fortnite player doesn't know, because many of you probably do know because you watched all my videos and other storyline videos and you're clued into the storyline. But generally speaking, the average Fortnite player won't even have a clue who Nox was and what he was doing in Mega City, which is kind of sad. That's what I mean by the storyline being badly written and badly expressed inside Fortnite over this chapter. So we'll continue on with the storyline because we've missed two really crucial elements, or three really crucial elements. Some of the artifacts which Kado's grabbing. We know he's getting mythics from past seasons, but he's not just only getting mythics, he's getting other elements like Midas' hand and the Lupus calendars, Auro's head, and so much more. There is a theory going around I'll just quickly mention, just to give it an honourable mention, because I thought it was quite interesting, but I think it was just a little bit nonsense because it's kind of, there isn't enough evidence to provide that it's true. But apparently the assets and items which the man himself, Thorne, is collecting are from different realities that we see in the picture here at the Jungle Temple, with them realities being possibly desert, ice, medieval, jungle, and Mega City, with Mega City not being one because that's his hometown. That was a theory from Cyan, I believe his name is, and I thought it was interesting, but I think it was just too far-fetched without enough evidence that Fortnite had directly provided to prove that this is where his items are from. Now, if Fortnite give us more detail on that, that would be awesome, but I generally think this character is just a write-off character which leads into something bigger with Dr. Sloan. He's kind of like, here's the time machine, get rid of him, next boss comes in. That's what I feel like, but I might be wrong. Maybe he's going to be a huge big part in the Fortnite storyline in the future. Anyway, let's talk about his items which he does have, which we know he has, which is Midas's hand, the big one, which is probably the biggest one, and obviously the 7 calendar, the loop calendar here, which relates the looper calendar, which relates to the 7 and stuff. So Midas's hand, first off, is an interesting one because he's basically gone back and eliminated Midas, or one of his hands, because both of them look golden in certain trailers sometimes. So maybe he's taken out Midas's hand, or one of them, and kind of eliminated him, brought that back as a prized possession, because it's a pretty cool item to have. And I think it's just basically what he's done. He's just gone back and took out Midas. And Midas's storyline, oh, that's a whole new messy thing I don't want to get into right now. His storyline is super messy. I still couldn't. Someone asked me, tell me Midas's storyline, Pat. We could sit here for a while talking about it and we still wouldn't be able to give an exact evidence on it. And maybe that's what Fortnite want to do. They want to go back and tell these storylines for these characters so we have a setting stone storyline, but there's many places in the game that they've probably forgotten about that we still know as fans that we'll pick up on that the storyline won't relate to. And I think it's so messy, the Fortnite storyline. Anyway, we're going a bit off track again. Let's carry on with the next topic, which goes on to the Fortnite calendar, which is the Loopers calendar, as they call it. This is quite interesting because it shows 5 elements of the 7. These 5 pictures here are the 5 elements which we saw on the stones back in Chapter 3, Season 1 over the century, which are elements of the 7. But the 2 that it's missing are the sisters, which are related to the... I'll talk about this in a second, but the 2 that are missing are the sisters, which are related to Geno, and they weren't joining the 7 till a certain point. Now, I generally don't think the 7 are called the 7 because there's 7 members. I think that's just the name of their faction, the 7, but they're just coincidentally, there are 7 of them. But generally speaking, there's 8 because Jones joined the 7 at the end of the collision. So there isn't really a number needed for the 7 to be the 7. Yes, it's a coincidence that there's 7 members in the 7, but I generally don't think that has to be the case all the time. I think the 7 could be 2 members, 5 members, 3 members, 100 members. It could be as many as they want. It doesn't have to be 7. Maybe the 7 are just the main leaders, and there's just other characters that can fill in these slots if need be. So, the calendar. What does this tell us, and why have we received this? Well, this is why I think we could be going back beyond Fortnite, because I feel like this calendar gives us a little bit of a stretch back before the time of Chapter 1. Before we knew anything was happening, before the island was the island. You know, we knew the island was the island, but when we found out the island had a flip side with Chapter 2, which was found out in Chapter 3 when the island flipped, we didn't know the island was on the other side. Originally, it was interesting because you look at it and you think, we had the flip side on the island, which was cool. And I'm assuming Chapter 1, that flip side was also there, possibly. But what could have that flip side been in Chapter 1? So imagine flipping the island in Chapter 1. We don't really know if it had a flip side or not in Chapter 1. There isn't enough evidence, and probably Thorne hadn't come up with this theory at the time. But imagine if there was a flip side of the island in Chapter 1. That's possibly where this Loopers calendar could be from. This era where the 7 lived underneath the island, or lived in another reality that's close or connected to this, which we could be going to find out why this Loopers calendar is there. And I don't think they just put this Loopers calendar in for no reason. I think this is pure evidence that there is stuff in the past, and possibly where we could see the Fortnite seasons going back to that point. So yeah, it's really interesting. The storyline is interesting when you dig into it, but as a whole, and an average Fortnite player, which I'd probably class myself as currently because I spend more time in UEFN than I actually do playing Fortnite, generally the storyline overall is a little bit messy, or very messy should I say, and Chapter 4 is completely dull with no easy way of following it. So Fortnite really need to improve on that. If you'd like a video of me talking about why the Fortnite storyline has kind of just disappeared or not being as good over the last few seasons, I'll make a video on that if you want it. So to conclude for Season 4, I've just made a quick video as well of the Boss Thorne versus Boss Midas. So if you're interested to see the battle between them two, I'll link it at the end of this video. You can press it when it's on screen. It won't be right now because I'm still editing it, but eventually it'll be on this video, so you can press it. But yeah, what I want to say is, to conclude overall the storyline for this season so far, I will be making another storyline video towards the end. We know that obviously Dr. Sloan is getting her team together to grab that time machine to go back in time. We assume it could be forward in time, but we don't know what is in the future, so that would be too risky. It's going to be to go back in time and do something, or that time machine could be kind of like malfunctioning and cause Fort nightmares, or generally maybe when we take the time machine it triggers the vampire event, and maybe obviously Thorne turns into his vampire and Fort nightmares happens. Everything's kind of leading up to Fort nightmares. I feel like maybe the time machine is going to be part of that, but also it could be part of after Fort nightmares as well, to get back to the last reality and kind of explore all that side of it. So I feel like this season's more of kind of Fort nightmares and then like a tie into season 5 or chapter 5 if it is going to be. I don't think it'll be straight chapter 5. I think they'll have to kind of end the storyline a little bit, or maybe they won't because it's that bad, the storyline. Maybe they won't end it and they'll just kind of go straight into it. Only time will tell though. Videos on screen of Midas versus the Thorne, the bosses themselves. And don't forget, if you enjoy the content, do consider popping in code POST, that's POST, into your item shop. It really does go a long way and help support the channel even further. So thank you everyone doing that and supporting. It really does mean a lot. All right guys, thanks. Leave your comments down below and your theories. I'll be reading them all, and peace.